But I'd like to speak about three very specific ones that helps you to be mentally strong. The first one is acceptance. Acceptance. Acceptance, the first thing about acceptance is to understand that suffering and struggle is natural. Okay, understand that people you love will die. Understand that sometimes you'll get sick. Understand that sometimes you'll get broke. Sometimes you'll get a relationship that you wanted them to work will not work. So that is part of life. Okay, accept that that is part of life, and it helps you to prepare for it and not to get surprised when this happens. So accept the suffering that comes, so that when it comes, you do not struggle more than necessary. So suffering is indeed part of life, and if you remember what I said, one of the ways that can help you to be mentally strong is to understand that the goal of life is not happiness as a feeling, but meaning. That I feel that my life has a purpose, and that I understand that suffering and happiness are parts and parcels of life. Okay, so acceptance, the first category under acceptance is struggle is natural. 2, understand that having negative emotions is a part of life. Again, when you feel anxiety and sometimes you have depressive thoughts, or sometimes you have stress, understand that this is okay. These are not thoughts that you need to hate and push them away. Accept them. They are part of life. They are normal. And negative emotions and feelings are a call to action. So when you feel them, it is your body mechanism of telling you there is something that's not working well. Please pay attention to it and see if we can address it. All right, so that's very, very important. And acceptance has something to do with the Serenity Prayer. So Serenity Prayer is a prayer that was brought about in the 1930s, and it says this: that Lord, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. So there are things in our life that we cannot change, and accepting them in serenity, in peace, is wisdom. And then he says the courage to change the things that I can change. So one of the things that to be mentally strong is to differentiate the things that I can do something about, so that if I can do something about them, there's no point worrying about them because I can do something about them, and the things that I cannot do anything about them, and not worry about them because I cannot do anything about them. And the wisdom to know the difference, because it takes a lot of wisdom to know the things that I can change and the things that I cannot change. There are people who think they cannot change their attitude, but think they can change other people. That doesn't work. It's the opposite is the case. I cannot change other people, but I can change my attitude. And that's what wisdom takes. Okay, so that's very, very important. And then you need to check on that internal conversation, that internal self-talk that constantly tell you that you're not good enough, okay, or that you cannot face suffering properly and overcome. You can do it. You can do it. We are a result of millions of years of evolution, and because we are here because we survived. Our ancestors survived. That means we are strong enough and we can face this. Okay, so choose properly where you focus your attention on. Still under acceptance, therefore focus on the things that you can change. 2, self-compassion. There are people who think that being compassionate on themselves means being lazy. Okay, so if there are moments you don't want to work because you are feeling unwell, accept and take care of yourself. And if there are moments you should have done something and you did not do it, forgive yourself for not always being perfect. Be compassionate on yourself for the moments that you never measured up, that you felt you did not measure up, for the moments you never met your goals, for the moments you were plainly lazy. You don't only forgive yourself because you feel, okay, now I can forgive myself because that makes sense because that was a huge thing. Forgive yourself even for those moments where you really acted, allow me to say, stupid. That's okay. So self-compassionate. So treat yourself patiently. Go to bed in time. Eat good food. Eliminate friends who are not helpful to you. Speak to yourself gently when you're aiming for your goals and sometimes you're not pursuing them properly as you'd have wanted. And under self-compassion, I would like to speak about something here. Lowering your productivity bar. This is something especially men struggle with. That there are some times when you have so much suffering, like during this pandemic. You used to perform at 70% in your engagement in your work, and you find that now you can only perform at 50% because of this condition. That is okay. Okay, don't demand yourself the 70% as if these are normal circumstances. Okay, if you are sick, stop demanding the 70%. Aim now for 40 and accept these are not normal conditions without guilt or shame that you're not performing as in normal circumstances. So if you are going through suffering, allow yourself to be compassionate on yourself. That is going to help you even to be more confident in yourself, because look at this. Somebody who is not very self-confident, when they fail, they'll criticize themselves. Why? How would I do that? I should be more smarter. Why would I have dated such a person who has now broken my heart? It's because I'm foolish. Somebody on the other who has self-compassion said, well, I do not know. Okay, I have learned a lesson. Okay, it is part of growing. They are self-compassionate, and therefore they heal and move on faster. So self-compassionate is very, very key. And therefore, in this context, the worst thing that you can do is to compare yourself with other people. Everybody has their own story. Don't compare your spouse with somebody else. Don't compare your parents with somebody else. Don't compare your financial situation with somebody else. Don't compare your happiness with somebody else's happiness. And Instagram and Facebook and social media, if there's one thing that is, they are very good in many different ways. But if there's many ways that they are destroying people's lives, and there's a lot of data showing this, is in terms of people go to social media and they do not realize how much they are comparing themselves with people who seemingly are perfectly happy, but they're not. Okay, and they end up feeling guilty and comparing their body and their situation with other people. The last thing that I would like to speak about is gratitude. About being mentally strong. So acceptance, self-compassion, gratitude. And in here, I'd like to tell you about the importance of deliberate gratitude. It's very, very difficult when you're going through suffering, especially you're taking care of someone who is sick, to see anything good in your life. Our brain has a negativity bias. It tends to easily pick what is wrong. If I ask you, take for example, tell me of negative experiences in your life you have gone through. By a minute, you'll have them. If I tell you to tell me about very personal experiences that were positive, it's not that easy. Because our brain has that negativity bias, it tends to remember what went wrong. And so what you can do is to be very deliberate, to rewire your brain by reminding it there's something good in life in spite of the suffering that I'm going through. And when you do that, your brain is able to balance and you feel better. Okay, so be very deliberate about your gratitude. So appreciate the things that you've got. And not only the things, who you are, the people who are around you, the opportunities you've got. And you've got to be deliberate about that. And when I mean deliberate, is you have to be intentional in looking about those experiences and people and things that you've got, and to be more deliberate about cutting those voices that keep reminding you about what you should be having and you don't have. Okay, so in that sense, I'll give you one of the things that you can do is keep a gratitude journal. Every other week, sit down, or even a conversation with someone you love, and say, okay, so over this week, maybe you can tell your spouse or your best friend, what are some of the best things that have happened in your life? What are some of the good experiences that have happened? And make it personal. Don't just say, oh, the weather was great. Make it really personal. You know, I was happy when someone called me to just check on me. I felt so good that someone cared. Those personal experiences, aim for those, and they're really, really helpful. So I hope this has helped you in some form to help you to be mentally strong, and we continue the journey together, and look for assistance. We are there for you. People care about you, and thank you so much for watching this episode. Do share it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.